Suchita, Aditya sir, and Karan, a warm welcome to you three for the world premiere of Khape at UK Asian Film Festival, which is celebrating its 23rd edition. A huge congratulations, firstly, on the film.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Fantastic. It's wonderful to be in conversation with you all today. Now, Suchita, I think beginning with you, the story of Khape is based on a true story where 300 children are receiving free education. So tell me, when and how did you discover this story, and what made you feel like this would make a compelling piece of cinema?
So I actually discovered the story in a newspaper cutting. It's based on the story of a boy who actually built a school and is now running more than 300 plus kids. He's an admirable boy, and his story really inspired me to do something for society. And I said, I'm going to make a film out of your story. And I connected with him around that time. That was in the year 2009. And I have been trying to make this film for a while now. And I said, this is a story that all of us should sort of know about, because our most of our lives we are focused on our own selves, on our self-interest and moving ourselves forward, but a story like this of a boy where he's altruistic, he's not thinking about his own self, he's thinking about other people, and he's thinking about world on a bigger scale, saying that if he's able to educate his friends, his village, he can transform at least some aspect of society. And this boy is actually doing that, which is why I find it so admirable. So of course it's based on a true story, and since it was discovered in 2009, it took me a while to make this film, almost 10 plus years to get this on floor and finally get it going. So I have been sort of with the story for a very long time.
I think Suchita, you're actually not a Gujarati, right? So, how was it for you adjusting to the language difference? Was it ever a barrier for you whilst making the film?
No, I'm not a Gujarati. In fact, that's a long story, because this film was actually with other set of producers, and we were going to make it either in Hindi or in Marathi or in Bengali. We were still contemplating, and it was also part of the NFDC co-production market in 2014. And but again, we had funders from different countries, but the thing didn't work out, and everything fell apart. And I was in a, of course, it's painful, trying for long years. And then after that, I just thought that. So I knew Aditya for a while. He was an actor in Mumbai who had moved to Ahmedabad, and then I thought that perhaps he can play the father very well. And so I connected with him, and I said, I have my set of producers in Bombay, and would you like to play the father? And he read the script and he liked it. I said, okay, I'm going to play the father. And what actually happened is that my producers in Mumbai, they went sort of, they fell. Things were not working out in terms of the monies. They went through losses, and so when I came with Aditya in his troop of his cousins who also read the script, they said they really liked the script and they would see as an option to make it in Gujarat. And I was pretty open to making it in Gujarati language, because it didn't sort of, as the story is, it's a universal story. It can fit in any language.
Yeah.
So I got the opportunity to make it in Gujarati language. And of course, the other question is that was it a barrier? And I would say that I don't know Gujarati per se, but what really helped was that I had a script supervisor with me on the set. He also translated the script, Nayan Rana. Yes, he's the one who stood with me, in terms of checking that whatever is being delivered is accurate in terms of the language, the Gujarati language. Yes.
Aditya, I believe this is your debut Gujarati film, but you're also starring and of course producing as well. So I mean, I know Suchita kind of just touched upon it. But what sort of gave you that motivation and that determination to actually do the film, and sort of to kind of back it as well? So what drove that decision for you?
Like Suchita mentioned earlier, Suchita and me have been friends since a long time, since the early 2000s. and
Right.
she gave me a call out of the blue after some 10 years. Sucheta, you didn't talk to me for 10 years. After 10, after 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 a while, she called me after a long time, and I was in Ahmedabad. She asked me
Mm.
to play the father in this film. So I just told her just send the script over. So she mailed the script to me, and coincidentally, me and my cousins, we had already formed a company, production house called Flaming Pie Pictures,
Mm.
and we were planning to produce a film, and we were looking at scripts, and we wanted to produce a niche film, whether whether be it in Hindi or English or any language. And once I read Suchita's script, I personally really liked it. I passed it on to my partners, my other producers, Sambhav and Siddhant,
Mm.
and they also liked it. And we sat down and evaluated the script, and we figured out that we can shoot this script, this film in Kutch,
Mm.
because the premise of the film, like Suchita said, it's very universal. It can fit in any language, in any state. It doesn't necessarily have to be shot in Hindi. And since we were looking for a niche film, and we felt that this film should be shot in Gujarati Kutchi language, because a film like this has not been made here in Gujarat. A film like this,
Yeah.
which is a very realistic film, and so I I was like totally into the script, and I really wanted to play the father, and I didn't want to lose out on it. And I told my partners that why don't we, since you both are also into it, and I think we should produce it. And I had a lot of faith in Suchita. If she is willing to, then we can you know shift the whole film in Gujarat and shoot it in Gujarati. So we had to translate the whole script from the Hindi and English version first, and we had to translate it into Gujarati. So that's
Absolutely.
how. And we started in 2016, and she went for her first recce in 2016. But then the demonetization really dampened our spirits, and we had to wait another year and a half almost to restart.
It was a long journey to make the film, and we went through a lot of ups and downs during these times. It was a very emotional time for I think all of us because we're struggling to make the film and we're struggling to finish the film after that. So it was a long journey for us. It was the second long journey for me.
No, it's a different ball game. Like the demonetization, then the lockdown, and the second wave of the pandemic, and also it's like for a no for a producer, it's like a nightmare.
I can
Your
imagine.
your your finance is stuck really for a year and a half. What do you do?
Also, it's quite heartening to see that relationship, that camaraderie that you shared with Karan in the film. I think it was so refreshing to see a father and son story that is not where the father does not have these high expectations of their child and they're not burdening that child with their expectations, with their dreams. And I think that itself was a very wonderful sort of trope that we saw in the film. And I really, really like that in particular. So I wanted to bring Karan into the conversation here as well and ask you, Karan, actually, how was your experience of playing a young teacher in Khape? Because I saw your work, I think, in Dha. I think Dha was fantastic. So congratulations
Yep.
on that too. So, how was your experience of
Thank
working
you.
with
Thank you.
Aditya sir and Suchita ma'am and playing Ali in the film?
First of all, I want to thank you to all the guys to inviting me this lovely conversation. Uh, तब मेरे पास ये मूवी आई थी तब ये मेरी सेकंड लीड मूवी थी and I amazed because I love this movie script. I love this movie concept. One guy whose name is Ali, and he wanted to increase or his village land, and वो चाहता है कि अपने गांव के लिए वो कुछ करे. तो सबसे पहले मुझे ये स्टोरी का पता चला तब मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। और लेकिन ये मुझे ये नहीं पता था कि पूरी स्क्रिप्ट है और उसको मैं कर पाऊंगा या नहीं। लेकिन मैंने सोचा करूंगा, और उसके बाद मुझे पता चला कि मेरे पापा के रोल में आदित्य सर हैं, सुचिता मैम है डायरेक्शन में। तो मैंने कहा नहीं, हम कर लेंगे। और हमारा वर्कशॉप होता था आगे स्टार्टिंग में, हमारे डायलॉग पे हम रिपीट करते थे, डायलॉग को हम लर्न करते थे। तो it was very easily to perform, and at the shooting उस टाइम बहुत हमें डिफिकल्टी को भी देखने को मिलता है। तो उस टाइम घर में हम आई थिंक अप्रैल या मई के दौरान हम शूट कर रहे थे। तो उस टाइम गर्मी भी इतनी थी, तो हो गया था, लेकिन कर लिया हमने।
Hmm. Wow, that's incredible. And I think I think Kutchi dialect tha na Gujarati ka. I think it was a Kutchi dialect that was
हाँ।
in the film. So
Yes.
हम्म,
e ketlu easy hatu ke difficult hatu tamara mate, because I believe I guess the style of Gujarati that we speak normally is quite usually different to the Kutchi dialect, because there's different dialects we have in Gujarati language. તો કરણ ઈ કેટલું ડિફિકલ્ટ હતું કે ઈઝી હતું તમારા માટે?
જ્યારે ફર્સ્ટ ટાઈમ સ્ક્રિપ્ટ હાથમાં આવી ત્યારે ડાયલોગ્સ વાંચીએ ત્યારે ખબર જ નથી પડતી કે આ શું કહેવાય છે, કેમ કે એમના વર્ડ બહુ જ કચ્છી ભાષાના અલગ હોય છે. અને
હા.
જેમ જેમ અમે આગળ વધતા ગયા તેમથી ખબર પડતી ગઈ કે આ શબ્દનો આ અર્થ થાય છે.
હા.
એટલે ધીમે ધીમે પછી ઇમ્પ્રોવાઇઝિંગ થતું ગયું અને શૂટ થતું ગયું.
Wow. Well, very wonderfully adapted. And I must say, Karan, you're a fab actor. I really loved the way you performed, especially during the emotional sequences. You know, that scene I think that I really love the most is when he was saying, I'm not scared of anyone, and he was throwing the papers around. And I think for me that scene was so powerful and it was so beautiful, and it kind of conveyed so much about Ali's relationship with his father. And I think that's definitely one scene which definitely has stayed with me since watching the film as well. So congratulations, Karan, on to you on that front as well.
Yeah, that was a good scene. That was a good scene.
That was incredible. It was incredible. In fact, Aditya sir, actually, I wanted to ask, what did you use as a reference point to presenting the father character in Khape, and making sure that it's portrayed in a very organic and authentic way?
When I read the script, I spoke to Suchita, and I told her that this role fits in like a glove to me,
Hmm.
because it genuinely does. Because uh, most of my films, which I mean, it's whether you call it fate or karma or whatever, uh, 65% of the films which I've done, I have played characters which are uh, you know, downtrodden, meek, and uh, you know, on the verge of poverty and
Hmm. Hmm.
like that. I mean, the thing is, when you do a film like Lagan, and when you play a character like Kachra, you tend to get similar characters, similar roles.
Yeah.
People only approach you for playing the
Oh,
really good meek person, and but then that's the actor's journey. So I Suchita and me sat down. We had a lot of discussions, and it just I just fit in. It just fitted I into the character. And frankly, Anuj, I'll tell you something. I'm being really honest. Uh, I was also the producer of the film,
Hmm.
and I of course I did a lot of uh, workshops with Suchita, and I sat down with her, and I understood the character, and I got into it. And in fact, Suchita and me had gone 10 around a month ago, before the shoot started. We had gone to villages, and I had gone and adapted myself there and stayed there for a while. But frankly, I didn't get much time to research on the character and uh, get into the nitty gritties of being Ali's father, because I was also the producer. So my mind was also uh, extremely preoccupied
Hmm.
the how in pre-production.
Hmm. Right.
I was also involved much in pre-production and into the locations and into a lot of things. So it was a combination of both. So
Wow.
it was not like how uh, you know character artists and method actors get into the character,
Yeah.
and I didn't have time for that because I was also the producer. I'm sure Suchita would have wanted me to uh, get into the character like a method actor, but she knows I didn't have the time because also
No,
I was
actually,
also.
yeah, just a bit added here. I think Aditya was the only one who actually did not the amount of time I wanted, because I was pushing all the other actors, and all other actors were giving me. Of course, they were there to give their 24 hours to me,
Yeah.
and it was just Aditya who was, who was not. I mean, I was forcing him to sit and understand the character. I had to literally say, okay, now it's your time. Just take out the time every day and get into the character. So while we were doing the rehearsal, so yeah, I mean that was definitely a point where I was getting everybody's like 100%, but I felt that somewhere he needs to go there and live in the village, which he was not doing. I said, you go to the village and live. So because you're a city person, you would not know. A village life is different. So I was literally forcing him, that need to go early and forget production because everybody else is handling it. So that was, yes, that definitely was there. Yeah.
I think, Suchita, I wanted to talk to you and tell you actually the choice of location is very, very realistic, and it's so telling again, because it almost seems like the village is an instrumental character in the film, and your camera shots as well are incredible. I mean, whether it's the bird eyes view of the hilly sort of locations or a close up of the ants, holding that morsel of rice, they signify so much about the film circumstances and where Ali stands, where the protagonist stands in the film. What inspires your vision as a filmmaker?
So of course, I'm very influenced because I also do a lot of photography, which is street photography, which is capturing people in real time. That has sort of attuned me to capture things in real time. I believe I can quickly, at the blink of an eye, see, how or what feel something can give. I also made a lot of documentaries, which is again coming from. So I've dabbled in different mediums, including advertising and documentary, which are like two very distinct different mediums. So documentary has given me the eye of, again, wanting to get in the realism of cinema and try and capture things as they are and feel the emotions of it. So photography and documentary, I think, are two of the things that have sort of attuned me to make a realistic film like this, like Khape at the moment. Yes, and of course, I'm inspired by like a lot of filmmakers, specifically coming from Chaplin. I think we live in Chaplin. Chaplin is the world. His. I mean, I'm too small to even say what Chaplin is. And of course, there is other filmmakers coming from Scorsese, coming from Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu. Yes, I think I really admire them.
How challenging was it for you to balance the innocence of the characters with the sensitivity of the subjects explored in the film? Because it explores so many archaic yet thorny issues and topics like domestic violence, poverty, child marriages. So how difficult was it to get that perfect balance for the film?
I think it was very difficult. It looked easy, at that point when we were shooting, because we were shooting so fast in terms of balancing the innocence with so many other challenges. Uh, it was actually done on the writing part. While I was writing, I knew these were the challenges in terms of the hurdles Karan's character Ali was going through. So while I was shooting it, I knew this is all coming together. And when I met Karan, and when I was interacting with Karan and Aditya's character as father, there was an innocence that was already sort of coming out of them. It was not made up. It was the best part about these guys was that they were so real to the character. I had to just mold them. They were already there. Just chisel it and say, okay, just cut this out, cut that out, and just give me this. And they were just so good. And Ali's character, as a character is so good. I mean, I'm amazed at the amount of understanding he has despite different languages. Like me and Aditya talk in English. We understand, we are on a wavelength. But me and Karan are not, because Karan, he does not his English, he doesn't understand English so well. So talking and conveying to him in Hindi, and my English will invariably come, but he will just catch the way I'm talking to him. He'll just know what I'm saying. The intensity of my talking made him understand कि, itna hi dena hai. And I would
Huh.
invariably talk in English. No, 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 cut this out. Cut it. And he understood it. I don't
Wow.
know how he understood it. So he just got it. And I think we did the right balancing, in our edit as well. When we went on our edit, our editor Asif did a pretty good job in terms of, understanding what I was trying to do and just getting it
Hmm.
all right.
The first recce we couldn't find the locations where the whole crew, almost, the art director and everybody had gone. The production and my two partners, everybody had gone for the recce. Even the costume person had gone. That time they couldn't find the locations. It was the second time where myself, Suchita, and another partner of mine, Mr. Devesh Vyas, the three of us, and my cousin, Siddhant, we went, the four of us, and we locked in all the locations.
Oh.
And yeah, it was on the second recce, only four of us had gone. That's the time we went into the interiors everywhere and we just locked the locations. And one day before the shoot, one day, imagine, like the shoot is going to start in the morning. The previous night, the sarpanch of the village calls me up and says that you cannot shoot in our village.
Oh my God. Really? One day before the shoot?
One day before the shoot, the sarpanch of the village calls me up and tells me you cannot shoot in my village. The villagers have decided that they don't want like a crew inside our village and photographing and shooting. And I tried to convince him, but he just was adamant and gone. So you can imagine my plight when the whole direction team has already gone, done the short divisions, done everything in that village, and that whole village is cancelled one day before the shoot. And I just call up Suchita, and I the first news I give her is to her. I don't tell anybody else. So she quickly calls all her direction team and the production guys and everybody. We all get together, and then we decide that. I mean, the direction team decides that they have to reschedule everything. Everybody's dates are rescheduled. The whole
Oh.
the whole cast dates are rescheduled. So then earlier we were, I think, going to shoot linear,
Hmm.
the film. But
Yeah.
yeah, but then since you've seen the film, Anuj, we
Hmm.
have three main locations in the film: the barren land, the
Hmm.
school, and the village.
Right.
So then the direction department, Sucheta and all, decided that first they will finish all the scenes in the school.
Uh,
Then they will finish all the scenes in the barren land, and then hit the village in the end. So it gave us time to
yeah.
find another village. Means it was not actually a village. It
Yeah.
was uh, it was a basti, as you call it.
Yeah.
But we created it into a village. We made the art department made more you know huts
Hmm.
and made more houses and created it.
Yeah. And this is a classic case of, in a shoot, if anything can go wrong anytime, which is not under your control. So just be prepared. Anything can happen, where it can topple your plans. Yeah.
But hey, look, had that not have happened, it
Yeah,
wouldn't have been. Yeah, go on, please, Aditya sir.
no, all I told everybody is that the shoot should not stop. The
Yeah.
shoot starts tomorrow morning as scheduled. We were planning to shoot the school only first, but
Yeah, that was the good part. Yeah.
that was a good part. The shoot was started with the school only. So all I said is finish the school first.
Half day school
Don't,
and half day village was there. And then we made it the whole day
yeah,
school. Yeah.
Wow.
yeah. So we shot it like that. We had to because the production needed time to find another.
But I think Suchita, because I was asking you about the archaic issues and the topics that the societal topics that it covers. Like once again, just to reiterate, it was poverty, um, right to education as well. I mean, which is not really an issue, but a topic. Domestic violence, child marriages, all these things. So, what sort of research did you kind of go through in terms of actually covering these subjects in the film?
Yeah, so like I said, I was I'm from a documentary background, so I've gone to villages inside and interiors, and I've done a lot of documentaries on like water conservation, documentaries on branded documentaries where brands like Mahindra are supporting a village, and I shot it, and I was in a very isolated location where you don't have anything for miles and there is no coverage. So I was already sort of used to a village, what kind of a milieu a village is, and what kind of
Ah,
how do people live. I was already attuned to their lifestyle, and of course I came through characters there. Then I was also have this knack or this itch or to keep photographing whatever I see, So when I used to go and shoot my documentaries for them, the branded documentaries, I used to keep shooting with my camera stills, on the side.
mm,
So I think while I was unconsciously absorbing a lot of things in the way of the village life and the way people live. I was already attuned to their poverty aspect. I was already attuned to the domestic violence aspect. I was already attuned the kind of life that women live there, the kind of life that children live there. I was already attuned that how they steal electricity wires from the sarpanch's house and they get it to their house so they can sort of light their house for at least the time that they can cook their food. So
mm, mm,
and after 6 p.m. the electricity goes off and they all go to sleep by 7.
mm,
So I was so while I was doing all these documentaries I'm absorbing. So when I actually when started writing the script, I subconsciously consciously already had the material of how I want to sort of put across the conflicts, the conflicts in the character's outer life that he might face when he's trying to transform a village and
mm,
trying to make them see what school or education can do for them. Because the people I met, they don't care about education. They don't care about food. They say,
mm,
who cares? I need food. So there was a conflict between wanting food versus wanting education, and of course wanting food one, because you need to feed your stomach every day, and so they don't care whether their kids go to school or not. They care that the kid should go and earn his living and come back and give that money so the house runs. So
mm,
that was a conflict that I already saw in a lot of villages. And of course, when I was when I met my characters and when I was doing research with my original character, whose life on whose story I tried to base it, I realized that it's universal. Emotions are universal. All parents living in that poverty, they go through the same thing. That's what they want for their kids. They don't care about education. Imagine trying to transform someone's mind and say that just leave food, focus on education. This
mm.
is where my character comes in, where the father's character played by Aditya is the evolved character that says that I don't care, my son is going to go and go to school and learn. He's the
Mm.
only guy in the village who says that, which is why Ali gets educated and
Mm.
others don't.
I think Karan as well. I would like to ask you actually, because તમે પહેલા કીધું હતું કે you had to do workshops for the preparation of your character. એટલે અલીના character ને સમજવા માટે કેવું preparations તમે કર્યું હતું પોતા માટે? So how did you prepare personally for that character in particular?
મેન તો આ સ્ક્રિપ્ટ અને ડાયલોગ પર વધારે મહેનત કરવી પડી હતી. કેમ કે અમને ખબર હતું કે સ્ટોરી શું છે, સ્ટોરી કેવી રીતે આગળ જવાની છે. પણ એના જે ડાયલોગ્સ હતા જે કચ્છી લેંગ્વેજના હતા એ જેટલા પણ એક્ટર્સ હતા બધા માટે બહુ મુશ્કેલ હતું. પણ એને રિવાઇઝ કરવાના દરેક શબ્દનો અર્થ અને બધાના અલગ અલગ હોય એ બધાને સમજવા અને સીન બાય સીન અમે બધા ઇમેજિન કરી દીધું કે આ સીન પર આ ટાઈપનું અમારું ફિઝિકલ મુવમેન્ટ હશે અને સ્ક્રિપ્ટને લગતા વધારે અમે મેન તો ફોકસ મારે સ્ક્રિપ્ટ પર વધારે કરવું હતું. તો મેં ઘણી વખત આખી આખી સ્ક્રિપ્ટ બેસી ત્રણ વખત રિવાઇઝ કરી હતી. મુખ્ય પાર્ટ જ આ સ્ક્રિપ્ટ હતો જે ડાયલોગ્સના ઘણા હતા એ કરવા વધારે મને લાગ્યું ઉપયોગી.
Wonderful, but definitely, I think the efforts definitely. I think Suchita, and Aditya sir and Karan on your part definitely does come across. But I think on a final note, um, Khape has had its world premiere here at the 23rd edition of the UK Asian Film Festival. Um, and obviously, it's been wonderful to have the film screened here in Britain as well. But how do you plan to take the film forward now? I mean, I know it's a very difficult question to ask because of the current situation of the pandemic and coronavirus. But what are your plans on taking this forward? Aditya said, would you like to answer this first?
It's Suchita and myself and my other partners. We have similar similar thoughts, and we plan to let the film take its own course. We since Also because the pandemic is in full swing right now, and the theaters are we cannot expect a theatrical. We did not expect a theatrical last year. We are not expecting it this year, at least for a while. So anyway, we want the film to travel. We are obviously going to target other film festivals across the world, and we hope the film travels to a lot more film festivals, and then we'll come back probably end of the year and release either on a OTT platform or theatrical or both. So we would definitely like the film to travel first.
See, it's very difficult because see, I'm in Delhi right now and I'm stuck in this pandemic, and it is terribly bad here. Realizing the conditions, of course, the whole world knows by now. So the system has collapsed. So I mean, predicting it's again like this is going to be sort of difficult. That where what the journey is going to be. But I hope that the film gets spotted by the right curators and is taken to the right festivals where it can grow, and people come to know about the story. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. A lot of people need to come to know, but it needs to be spotted by the right curators and people. And I just want to sort of add here a bit. I'm so grateful to Samir, and I'm so grateful to Pushpender ji, that they spotted the film, Anuj, because they spotted the film, and then I happened to meet them, and they spotted the film. So I'm truly grateful that this film was spotted by them, and they had the patience to watch it, and they had the patience to see the film, and they had the patience to stay with it.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And honestly, I think a film, this year's festival is Ray of Hope. And if anything, I think Khape is truly, truly befitting to that theme. It's about Ray of Hope. It's the fact that you should never give up. If you have a dream, if you have a sort of direction in your life that you want to go through. And I think the film is a huge, huge testament to that. And I think it's truly a pleasure to have watched Khape and to have had the world premiere at the 23rd edition of the UK Asian Film Festival. So Aditya sir, Suchita ma'am, and Karan, a huge, huge, huge thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.